Imperial war machine was grinding to a halt. In the cold, early hours of dawn, on the 10th of October, the German submarine UB-123 was stealing its way up the Irish Sea looking for another victim. At approximately 10 to 10, 50 minutes into its regular journey, the RMS Leinster, steaming from Kingstown, Dun Laoghaire, was struck by two of the three torpedoes the submarine fired at her. Sinking within a quarter of an hour, 501 souls perished in the greatest disaster on the Irish Sea. On Black Horse Avenue, near the Phoenix Park, lay the bodies of 143 victims of this terrible tragedy. What stories lie behind the names of some of these?
This is the grave of Lieutenant Commander George Richard Colin Campbell, and he was from the Royal Navy, and he's buried here with his wife Eileen and daughter, 4.5-year-old daughter, who was also called Eileen, and they were from County Derry. And Campbell served in the Royal Navy compass department, and he invented a particular type of compass. He was travelling on the Leinster with his wife and daughter, and all three of them were lost. Eileen, his wife, her body was recovered from the sea with the baby Eileen still in her arms.
So this is it actually says here, drowned in the sinking of the Leinster.
That's right.
In the age 27 years, and here's one 15 years old.
Yes, this is a very interesting grave. Thomas Joseph Woodgate, and as you said, he was only 15, one of the youngest to die on the Leinster. Thomas was from Callan in County Kilkenny.
There is also a rich store of the stories of the heroics of those that survived. I'm here to meet with William Byrne of the Friends of the Leinster Association. This is fabulous.
Isn't it just? It's amazing. As you can see, Tom, these are artefacts which are of high importance. They're of great benefit and almost essential for anybody doing Leinster research.
This is a fantastic model. What was your great-grandfather's involvement with the Leinster?
He was the chief stoker on the Leinster. He worked in and around where you see the funnels here. My great-grandfather would have worked in a very dangerous part, probably the most dangerous part, which would have been around the funnel area here. And he worked as one of the chief stokers. Over 500 people died. There would have been about 270 to 290 survivors. A lot of the reports show that the rescue boats came very late. My own great-grandfather was in the water for up to 3 hours waiting for rescue to come.
My youngest son took up the story and he listened and wrote down and took down the story from my hand. But I do remember the parts of it where he was a 47 years a seaman. He never swam, couldn't swim. Like I think most of the sailors of those. The day of the sinking of the Leinster, when she was hit, my grandfather gave his life jacket to a young cabin boy. And he went into the water himself and he held onto the life raft, onto the ropes of the life raft, and he was in the water for 3.5 hours. I remember my aunt saying the story afterwards that his hands were still in a locked position, his fingers for a long time after. And he held on to a raft. There was British officers in the raft at the time and waiting to be rescued. When a rescue vessel finally came, unlucky for the people in the raft, it hit the raft and they were overturned and they were lost. But my grandfather still survived. He held on.
My grandmother went down. People have said that all the bodies were lined up on the pier, but I always heard that they were lined up at the back of the station. And my grandmother went down looking for her husband and her son. It must have been unbelievable for her to think that she'd lost two, you know. But the two of them survived anyway. He was being pulled into a boat and he thought his leg was gone, but it was just that it had gone numb from being in the water. And when they pulled him into the boat, then he saw that he had two legs, so he was quite pleased about that. I don't know how they got...
His friend was a Mr. Morgan, the Welshman, and they were in what they used to call the galley. That's where they started the cooking of the meals, and he went to organise the meal, to start cooking the meal, and he went to the fridge, put the key in to open the fridge, and it must have been at that point that the boat was hit with the torpedo, and it blew out in his face. But he was left holding the key, and he held on to it all the time, and it was at home all those years in a drawer until Anne Miles, who was on the boat with my father, and he left after the tragedy because he said he couldn't face it again, because his face was badly marked. That his father was drowned some way through the fault of the LMS in Holyhead, and his body was never found. So his mother was left to rear 7 boys, and the only thing they gave her in compensation was that her sons would be guaranteed a job, each of the boys, if they wished. As far as I know, I think about 4 of them did take it up. This is my grandmother, my mother's mother, and her 7 sons. And 2 of them, that's my father and his brother Miley, were on the boat and they were saved. And the rest, the eldest is Johnny, and he obviously must have worked because the jersey he has on him has the Munster written on it. And the youngest of them, which is down here, one of them down here, worked on with the mail boat until the end of the last war.
There were 3 men that didn't turn in for work, and the 3, including my grandfather, were called in at the last minute. And the story I heard from an aunt of mine, that he was late running down to the ship, and my grandmother, his wife, had to send somebody after him with his lunchbox. So that was a funny story we were all told, you know.
It was only in the mid-90s that any tangible memory of the sinking of the Leinster was created, when the anchor was raised and put on this plinth here in Dun Laoghaire. October 10, 2003, and it's taken 85 years for the story to be really told and acknowledged as part of Ireland's forgotten history. There were joint ceremonies both in Dun Laoghaire and Holyhead to commemorate the event. Political, diplomatic, civil and military services from Ireland, Britain and as far afield as Australia, Canada and America participated in the commemoration.
Pipe to carry on. There's yours.